Hi-ho, Tudor-minded people. It's Philadelphia Carrie for Tudor Time Machine. The word I'll share with you this week is Hurly Burly. Oh, my friends, what a scene of Hurly Burly we have had at court these past days. I shall bespeak myself. It has come to light that my Lady Lettice Knollys, widow of the Earl of Essex, has married my Lady the Queen's favourite, my Lord the Earl of Leicester. Now, this news displeased Her Majesty greatly, especially because it was whispered to her by the ambassador of France, and came not in an open, honest confession from the Earl of Leicester. The Queen was in a fury that such a marriage had been performed in such a mitching, hugger-mugger fashion. Oh, there was such a hurly-burly at the news.
Hurly Burly. How now, Tudor Files? What think you? If you're new here, I'm Gage.
I'm Jessica.
And we're here with Philadelphia Carrie for Tudor Word of the Week.
Don't miss a word, and listen to the Tudor Time Machine Story Project. So diverting. Subscribe on YouTube and give me a like.
Tudor Files are an amazing bunch. Every one of you has the wit of Rosalind and the heart of Cordelia. Can you give us the spelling of Hurly Burly, Philadelphia?
It is spelled Hurly-Burly.
And it means a commotion, a tumult, an uproar.
What a thing for Elizabeth to hear that Robert Dudley, the Earl of Leicester, who she had bestowed all kinds of favors on, one of her closest confidants, the man she called her eyes and her sweet Robin, had married behind her back. Wow, what a betrayal.
I know. This Hurly Burly happened in 1578 when Dudley was in his 40s. And to be fair, he had spent years trying to convince Elizabeth to marry him.
I think she loved him. I really think she must have considered marrying him.
I do too.
I do not doubt that Her Majesty loved Sir Robert. I have seen with my own eyes how she doted on him. But she would never marry him. He was not a prince. He was not royal. And he had been married to little Amy Robsart, a dull chit.
That's a harsh thing to say, Philadelphia. And by all accounts, Amy had a very lonely life. Robert was away at court flirting with the Queen of England. And then poor Amy had to fall down the stairs to her death.
Well, Amy Robsart was a common gentleman's daughter who never spoke a word for herself and dressed very badly. Falling down a staircase was the most interesting thing the lady ever did.
How can you say that? Dudley was even suspected of killing her.
He was so, but then I would never believe it. Some said he murdered her to free himself to marry Her Majesty, but she would never have married him. He was beneath her and disliked by many of her privy council. And with the stench of little Amy's death on him, Her Majesty would not have risked the wrath of her council and of her people by binding herself to one so suspect.
Well, I think that's absolutely true.
Yeah, I mean, Elizabeth always valued the people's support.
So Amy Robsart died in 1563. But then in 1578, I guess Dudley couldn't wait anymore. Maybe he was like Henry VIII. Maybe he wanted an heir. Anyway, he married Lady Lettice Knollys.
The Queen summoned this new Countess of Leicester to court.
Lettice must have been really scared.
I would have been terrified.
Me too.
My Lady Lettice was not. She did not come into the Queen's presence in a manner fitting to one in disgrace, bowing low, outfitted in sombre dress with a visage of remorse. She swanned into the palace in her most splendid apparel, with her eyes ablaze and her head held aloft.
And what did the Queen do?
Her Majesty exploded at this vanity and boxed the Countess of Leicester's ears.
Really? Well, that was the gossip.
Indeed, she gave the lady a stout clap on her pate. My fellows and I approved this most heartily, for Lettice has always been a pert baggage.
Isn't she your kinswoman, Philadelphia?
I admit it. Her mother, Catherine Carey, was my aunt, my father's sister.
And Catherine Carey was Mary Boleyn's daughter. And Mary Boleyn was Anne Boleyn's sister, so that means Lettice was related to the Queen, just like you are.
It is true, and yet what a boggler Lettice was.
What happened after Elizabeth boxed her ears?
Her Majesty showed herself the royal personage she is by declaring that, as but one sun lighted the earth, so there should be but one at court, which henceforward would be closed to the Countess of Leicester.
You always wonder with these secret marriages, what were the people thinking? Did Leicester and Lettice Knollys think they could get married and she wouldn't notice? What could they have been going for?
I don't know. I mean, I guess they thought, well, we want to get married and we're going to get married behind her back because she won't let us get married if we ask. Like, let's do it and then apologize afterwards.
Ask forgiveness, not permission?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that's true. But it is a harsh sentence to be banished from court.
Because court was the only place to make connections to gain favor. And I think Robert Dudley was held in his house for a while until somebody spoke up for him and he was freed. Lettice had to go face her.
Because Lettice married Elizabeth's favorite, she got a bang on the ear and banishment.
My dear Gage, you are a simpleton. Lady Lettice was most fortunate. For such a thing, Elizabeth's father, Henry VIII, would have cut off our head and cut off Dudley's head and all the heads of any of those who supported the match. Lady Lettice was foolish not to be grateful for this generosity of the Queen's.
Well, that's one way to look at it. People say Elizabeth had a bad temper, but in comparison to her father, Henry VIII.
Wouldn't you rather get a box on the ear than have your head chopped off?
Absolutely. So did Lettice ultimately apologize?
Indeed not. She left the palace with her arrogance undiminished. And the next news we had of her was that she drove about London in a magnificent coach drawn by 4 milk-white horses. Footmen in black velvet escorted the equipage, and behind came other coaches filled with ladies and pages, so that the inhabitants of Cheapside craned their necks out of their gabled houses, supposing the Queen herself or some other great princess was passing by, and not just the Countess of Leicester.
Wow, Lettice, she was tough.
I regret my kinswoman. I would never commit such rashness. I prize my Queen's favour over all jewels.
Lettice liked the Hurly Burly.
More's the pity. So give heed, Tudorphiles. Bring some 16th century sauce to your vocabulary with Hurly Burly. Listen in next time. Don't miss a word. Subscribe on YouTube and give me a like.